a lot of normal Americans, a lot of normal people, families, all shapes and sizes, all walks of life. Yeah! Louder than that! Louder than that! 4 more years! Let's go! 4 more years! 4 more years! God bless America! 4 more years! 4 more years! A lot of high energy here.
You are about to witness the greatest show on earth and you don't even know it yet. There was an election on November 3rd. I was doing political analysis on Matt Christensen's Discord, and I made all the right calls. I absolutely predicted everything would happen exactly as I stated that it would. And unfortunately, around 2 a.m., after Trump has pretty much blew this thing out of the water, he ended up running away with this thing. 6-digit leads. In Pennsylvania, it was hundreds of thousands of votes ahead of Sleepy Joe, and all of a sudden these mysterious ballots started manifesting themselves and being delivered and all sorts of other things. Much of it was caught on camera, and it's abundantly clear what has happened. The modern left has spent the entire year convincing the American public that mail-in ballot systems are robust and immune to compromise, immune to fraud, and the president is fear-mongering. Yet here we are at a point where it's abundantly clear that the mail-in ballot system that has been, designed to make this process a whole lot safer and easier and better, it seems to have been designed deliberately to fail, and designed to be completely exploited for things such as what we witnessed in the past few days. It's November 6th right now, and the ballots are still being counted. You know, this is or being delivered or manufactured or whatever it is that they're doing at this point. It doesn't even matter. The math is not on Joe Biden's side. The math is not on the Democrats' side. As I'm making this video, again, this is likely to change, but I doubt it. The Republicans are going to maintain the Senate. The Republicans are gaining a lead in the House of Representatives. Again, this did not happen the way that they anticipated. But we're to believe that President Trump somehow underperformed in a handful of these cities in the Rust Belt. But in the surrounding areas, they didn't have these irregularities or these problems. They seem to have overwhelmingly gone for Trump, for the president. I'm not convinced. My fellow contemporaries are not convinced. A lot of us are pissed and we're angry that that they're insulting the intelligence of the American public. People like myself, Cernovich, Alex Jones, and a handful of other people that I ended up meeting last night, we're going out there, we're rallying the troops, and we are protesting. We are taking to the streets, and we are going to be loud. And that's what I recommend everybody do. Everybody needs to stop sitting on the sidelines, and we need to defend the President of the United States and stand up for him the way that he stood up for the American people. I'm not very politically active. I haven't been active since my Occupy Wall Street days. But here I am, taking to the streets, meeting with the people, talking with the press, and making a case. And that's what you need to do. That's what people need to do. They need to start getting their arguments in order and being able to articulate those arguments in a way that anyone's going to understand. You don't need to be a wordsmith. You don't need to be a genius or anything like that, but just make the points clearly and don't take this thing sitting down. Get up, stand up. That's absolutely what needs to be done. Now let's talk about the pathway to victory for the president. As I'm making this video, there's going to be a recount. It's very possible that a lot of these phony baloney ballots end up getting discarded. And we might see that in other states. Like, to my surprise, even Nevada. Apparently, Trump might win Nevada if they do a recount, if they do an audit, if they discard all the dead people that voted, if they discard, phony baloney ballots, if that's even possible, because the state legislator is doing some weird stuff with it. It's possible that Trump could inevitably win the state later on, but we're not going to see or get a final decision probably until December because of how insane everything is. There's so many moving parts. But here's what you shouldn't do. Don't take stock in a lot of these BS conspiracy theories. Well, I apologize. Maybe they're not BS. Like people are talking about like radioactive isotopes and watermarks and all this nonsense. No. We need to stick to what is materially in front of us. We have voting irregularities, counting irregularities, these mathematical anomalies in the count, and that's what we need to be focusing on. We need to be putting pressure on these local officials that the process was not transparent and that you feel disenfranchised, which is absolutely true. You should feel disenfranchised because you were, at least in these key states, and I live in one of them, unfortunately. So it's now my duty to get up, go out there, and make my case and represent the president and represent my fellow conservatives, my fellow Christians, my fellow MAGA bros. This is it, guys. We're not going to get another chance to do this, and I'm certainly not convinced that something like this is ever going to happen again. I'm talking about Trump. Trump is likely never going to happen again if we fail to act. As also refreshing news, Mitch McConnell and some of the other high-ranking, heavy hitters in the Republican Party, they're coming out to defend the president. Finally, I think it's just abundantly clear. that the fix is in, and they have to stand up for the president because he's the leader of the Republican Party. They weren't doing it at first, and it was quite upsetting. But better late than never, I suppose. But I never stopped being silent. I never stopped, I never worried, and I'm still not worried. However, let's just put something in perspective. The election is one thing. If Trump doesn't win with recounts, he's going to end up winning in the courts. The laws are on his side. The Supreme Court is likely going to side with him, given all the evidence that has been, produced and published on the internet by people like James O'Keefe, the investigative journalist. For whatever reason, it seems like the people were able to organize and start, basically Trump has outsourced, unofficial support from the public, from the keyboard warriors. We're doing audits of dead people. We're finding dead people voting in certain elections, and there's likely to be remedies, because of this. But let's just keep something in perspective, though. Trump wins the election. What happens immediately afterwards is not entirely obvious. As a matter of fact, I don't even think I can make a prediction that might even come close to what happens immediately after the conclusion of this race. When a victor is ultimately declared, which is likely going to be the president of the United States, what happens afterwards should concern people. So I just want to put something in perspective. When you go out there and you're making your case, do your best not to get heated, overly animated. It's not going to be helpful. Tensions are going to go through the roof. The temperature in the room is going to be boiling hot. Everybody is on edge. And what happens afterwards worries me. As a matter of fact, I am afraid to express my feelings about what exactly it is that occurs after the conclusion of this voting sham that is on full display for the world to see. And it worries me, because usually I have a pretty good understanding of what comes next. But, anybody's guess is as good as mine. Weirder things have happened, and it is 2020 after all. This is the greatest show on earth. It's happening right now. And the president needs us to stand up, to articulate the arguments, to get people to notice what is happening in our country. As of making this video, Twitter has censored Mr. Guns and Gear. They have censored John Doyle, banning him. They've censored the president of the United States and his lawyer. I fear any moment now they're going to ban me. They're going to ban James O'Keefe. Tim Pool is probably going to be safe, but he's been pussyfooting around calling the Democrats cheaters. He didn't have a problem doing it before the election, saying that they were going to cheat, that they were going to rig the election, and now he's being a total cuck about the whole affair. It's very upsetting how that works, because I have a lot of respect for Tim. Speaking of something kind of related to Tim Pool, Adam from, who was initially on the show, Adam, I think it's his username or channel is AdamCastIRL. He spent a good portion of his time buying a firearm the other day. And I keep hearing rhetoric of people wanting to, pick up arms and go out and, engage in conflict. What I witnessed yesterday was not a desire to engage in conflict. There were families, there were good people, and they want their vote to count. They want their vote to be respected. Americans don't want to kill themselves. Americans don't want to duke it out in the streets. That this is what Antifa and the violent Black Lives Matter activist thugs do. Most Americans are gentle and kind and peaceful. Do not call for violence. Do not advocate or celebrate violence. That is not what we need at this moment in time. And after this thing is concluded, we have to respect and be kind to the opposition and calm them down. It is like I almost regret trolling all these people who are virulently anti-Trump because, while we are the silent majority certainly turned out for Trump. A good portion of the country absolutely loathes us because of their perceived, ideas about the president being, like a tyrant, a dictator, and his supporters are like brown shirts or something. They genuinely believe this. Can that be reversed? Can their minds be changed? Well, I think so. People's minds can be changed. My mind was changed. When I was speaking with the people yesterday, when I was out there interacting with all these Trump supporters in my city, a sanctuary city, hundreds of us came out. There were motorcycle parades and the whole affair. A lot of the people that I spoke with, a lot of them were registered Democrats. A lot of these people do come from the liberal left. And there were some Democrats there. They were kind of like protesting us, but they were very peaceful. They were very friendly. They weren't rude or hostile or anything like that. And there's a lot of common ground with our fellow Americans. And it's very important to put that in perspective when you are out in the streets, when you are protesting, that not all the people that may not have an R after the name, but they have a D instead, these aren't bad people. I come from that world. And because I was a little liberal, a little hippie liberal hipster, I ended up voting and supporting Trump because they were mistreating us. The legacy media was mistreating us and making unfounded claims about Bernie Sanders supporters and, of course, Bernie Sanders himself. And my mind changed. And then, of course, I ended up interacting and meeting with conservatives. And I'm just like, whoa. I was wrong about my personal beliefs. And I was a hardcore liberal. I was a Bernie bro. I was out there, working for the guy. But my mind changed. So I'm fairly confident, like the average normie would be able to change their mind as well. But Trump being declared a victor by the Supreme Court, the state delegation refusing to go along with the schemes of these, election departments in these swing states, and ending up ultimately installing President Trump, and then we get him for another 4 years. That is going to socially and politically alienate the modern left, the progressives, the liberals. They are going to be so goddamn pissed. What happens afterwards is anybody's guess. Your guess is as good as mine. But like one can make the argument that, oh, well, they're going to end up, you're going to see like the Tea Party equivalent of the modern left. Well, they kind of already have that. It's the Antifa BLM types, but they're not very effective. They failed in Oregon. Goodness. But also keep in perspective, keep this in mind, that the right, the Christians, the conservatives, so on and so forth, the political dissidents, they're fired up too. They're just as fired up because of what is on display. The election fraud. Let's just call it what it is. I don't accept the results of the election at this moment in time. I don't believe for a second that hundreds of thousands of votes can come in for Joseph Biden and only Joseph Biden. None of his fellow Democrats that are also having adjacent races. That doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Again, keep this in mind. The Republicans are gaining in the House as I'm making this video, and they're likely to continue to make these gains throughout the month. The Senate is likely going to stay Republican, but that also might be in jeopardy because of the fraud. So no, we're not going to take the sitting down. I am not worried. I'm only worried about what comes after this. So I want to tell everybody, just calm the fuck down. Please just calm down, relax, get your arguments in order, communicate to the people in your life why this is important, and why we should support the president. If there's liberals and Democrats or whatever that you know that are afraid, calm them down. Be the strong person in the room. And given everything that's happened, we have a great opportunity to prove that we are the better people, that we are the stronger people, people who are on my side of the political spectrum. And let's not behave the way that the modern left has. The modern left has erased a lot of goodwill because of their violence, because of their murderous riots. We are not going to do that. I implore everybody to reject violence. We are going to aim for peace, but we will be loud, and we will support our president, and we will prevail. I promise you. God bless America. Thank you.